Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I hope you all are fine and will be doing good. As you know that in your previous lecture, you have studied about the scientists, the contributions of the Joseph Lister and the Alexander Fleming. With that, you have already studied about the addictive drugs as well. That what are the addictive drugs? You know that girls, that in the start of this unit, you have studied about the definition of the drug. That what basically the drug is. It is that compound which can modify the biological functions of the living organisms. The functions of the living organism that is modified with the help of the drugs. And this definition do not include only the medicines, but it also have some beneficial effects as well in the treatment of various disorders. There are many chemicals which are involved in the formation of different drugs. But the addictive drugs are those substances which alters or which change the normal functions of the body. There are some drugs which will permanently change the chemistry and neural structures. So now we will study the addictive drugs in detail and the different categories of the addictive drugs. So the addictive drugs are those substances which alters or which change the normal functions of the body. There are some drugs which permanently change the chemistry and neural structure of brain if it is used continuously. You know that what is neural structure? The neural structure or the neural changes means it changes the structure of the neurons of the human body. As you know that the brain of the human body and the spinal cord, which are the main coordinators of our body, they are made from the neurons. And when there are changes occurring in the neurons, so the normal functioning of that person's body will be changed also with the use of that medicine, with the use of that drug. So as a result, the normal functioning without these drugs is made nearly impossible because the structure of the brain is now changing with the use of these drugs. So the normal functioning of the body will not be occurring without the use of these drugs. The body then needs these drugs if they are discontinued. If they are not continuous for a time, okay, then the body craves these drugs. The body needs these drugs, often leading to the uncontrollable desire for them. When a person started to take these drugs, these addictive drugs, the person needs these drugs again and again because now the body has changed itself. Now the brain has changed its structure. There are some chemicals which are secreted by the brain basically, which helps in the normal functioning of the body. But with the use of these drugs, the brain considered these chemicals, these drugs as their own chemicals, and they start to stop secreting the natural chemicals secreted by the brain. Due to which, when these drugs are discontinued, so then the body needs these drugs, the body crave for these drugs. Because the natural chemicals are already stopped by the brain due to the use of these drugs, and when these drugs are not available, so automatically the body will need these drugs in a very uncontrollable amount. So the uncontrollable desire for the addictive drugs when they are discontinued, so this is basically known as the addiction because the person becomes addicted to these drugs, and these drugs are named as the addictive drugs because it causes the addiction in the human body. So generally the people get these drugs when they use chemicals which relax them, relieve pain or heighten their awareness. Because the people take these drugs to relieve their pain or to relax themselves. Because the people suffer from emotional trauma and sometimes they believe that they need drugs in order to achieve some goals, or they use the drugs to avoid feelings of depression or anxiety. Which anxiety is basically the common symptom of mental illness, the anxiety, depression, all these are the symptoms of the mental illness. So the mental illness, these are the symptoms of the mental illness. To cure these things, okay, the person started to take these drugs. The person in the trauma, emotional trauma, who are suffering from that, and the person who is taking, who is feeling depression or anxiety, so that person will started to take these drugs to relax themselves. They make them feel good. These drugs make them feel good, due to which they will want more. So without the drug, they feel tense and tortured because their body craves these things. The loss of control and inability to manage without such drugs are the most obvious indicators of drug addiction because the person cannot control themselves without these drugs. So, dears, as I have told you that we will discuss some of the categories of the addictive drugs and the categories of the So basically the categories of these addictive drugs, there are three categories which we will study now. That is the sedatives, hallucinogens and narcotics. The first group of the addictive drugs, they are the sedatives. Now what are sedatives? You have already studied in your previous lecture a little bit about the sedatives. They are having some important medicinal uses as well. But the excessive use of these sedatives can cause addiction in the body and it will lead to some other problems as well. So let us study the sedative as a group of the addictive drugs. So sedatives, you know that the sedatives, they slow down the brain functions. And the use of a sedatives is generally initiated to deal with some health problems. As you have studied earlier in your previous lecture, that sedatives, they are the group of medicines which are basically used for some health problems, like for the pain, for the sore muscles, for arthritis, for body aches and another pains, etc. Because they are also used as a sedative. Okay, so the sedatives, they are the group of addictive drugs, dears, which basically deals with the health problems, as I have told you about the body pain, about the body aches, and for the other pains, etc. For instance, the person take this to get better sleep or to reduce anxiety as well, because you have already studied in your previous lectures about the type of sedatives like the diazepam, etc., which are used to get the better sleep when the person is not feeling good or when the person is suffering from some emotional traumas, so that the person take the sedative drugs. However, if a person uses them for a longer time, they are at risk of developing dependence on it and it leads to addiction. As I have told you that the sedatives, they are the group of medicines which are having the medicinal importances. But if the person uses them continuously again and again, so then it will lead to the addiction, because the person will take these additives and that person will feel less traumatized, the person will feel less depressed, so due to which the person will start to use them for a longer period of time, which will make and these drugs will make them feel good, but in return, in opposite to this, they are at risk of developing the dependence on these medicines. The person will not then survive normally without the use of these drugs, because if the person is taking a good sleep with the help of these drugs, and when he stops these drugs, so then he will do what? He will take this sedative again, due to which it will causes addiction in that person's body. So which is not a good thing. So the person who is taking a sedative may find a prescribed dosage to their satisfaction for a period of time, after which they may increase that dosage to achieve the same effect. At first, for example, if the doctor suggested a sedative to the person, okay, you have to take, for example, a half tablet of the sedative. And when the person feel good with that half tablet, then he started to take the complete a full tablet of that, or he may started to increase the dose for him or herself as well. Without this prescribed dosage of the doctor, that person may increase the dosage to achieve the same effect, because now that a little amount of the dosage will not make them feel good, or will not causing that same effect or giving that same effect to that person. So some of the effect of taking sedatives in their dosage include the decreased awareness, due to which the person will be decreased. So the person will be less aware of the problems occurring around that person. The confusion, weak respiration, depression. These are some of the pictures of the sedative drugs. The person will be facing the weak respiration, the confusion, depression, and the stress will start to increase, due to which that person will start to increase the dosage for their selves. So a person with sedative addiction may display hostility or aggression, mood swings, poor judgment, and inability to function appropriately in social setting or at the workplace, because the person will not be able to perform the function properly, or he will not be behaving normally with the people of their workplace as well. The another group of the addictive drug is the hallucinogens. Hallucinogens are the drugs which causes hallucinations. Now, what are hallucinations? They are basically the intensive distortion in a person's perception of reality. The person will not live in the reality. He will not believe in reality. Under the influence of these hallucinogens, the people see images, hear sounds, feel sensations that seem real, but actually those things do not occur, okay, do not exist. The person will feel these things, but those will be the imagination of that person. They will not be real. So the hallucinogens, they cause their effects by disrupting the interaction of nerve cells and the chemical messengers in the brain. As I have told you in the start of this lecture, that the brain releases some chemicals which are released by the nerve cells. And due to the excessive use of these addictive drugs, those chemicals are stopped, because the type of substances like the hallucinogens, which are generally illegal to use, and the sedatives and the another group which I will be discussing in the next coming minutes. So these drugs basically they stop the chemical secretions secreted by the brain, which will lead to the addiction, due to which these hallucinogens will cause many problems in the person's body. So as I have told you, dears, that they cause their effect by disrupting the interactions of nerve cells and the chemical messengers in the brain, as the chemical messenger of the brain are stopped by the use of these sedatives. Many substances are classified as hallucinogens and they are illegal to use. And some examples of those substances are given over here. For example, marijuana, psilocybin, mescaline, and dextromethorphan. These are some of the examples of the hallucinogens which will cause hallucinations in the person's body. The marijuana, it is basically a dry, shredded mixture of flowers, stems, and seeds and leaves of the hemp plant. Hemp, it is a plant which scientific name is the Cannabis sativa. From this plant, when this plant is dry, it is shredded, and the shredded mixture of the flowers of this plant, or the shredded mixture of the stem of this plant, or the shredded mixture of the seed of these plants, okay, from this the marijuana is obtained. It is widely used in Pakistan, and it is taken through smoke or it is taken through orally. The person will take them as orally in the form of tablets. It will produce the feelings like excitement, relaxation, laughter, perception of slowing down of time, etc. And its side effects are, and obviously when the person is taking this, so it will produce the feelings like excitement and relaxation to that person, due to which the person will become relaxed, excited, and the person will feel happy. But instead of its effects, there are some of the side effects of this, and the side effects are anxiety, dizziness, fear, increased heart rate, dry mouth, memory loss, less coordination, poor sense of balance, and lower reaction time. These are some of the side effects of the marijuana. This is the plant of the Cannabis sativa, the hemp plant, from which the marijuana is extracted. The another example of the hallucinogen is the psilocybin and mescaline. These are basically taken orally, and these are the type of drugs which are taken orally but not in the form of smoke. Psilocybin is basically extracted from the mushroom, while the mescaline is extracted from the cactus plant. Basically, dear, as these are the pictures of the psilocybin and mescaline, the psilocybin, it is basically a group of drugs which is also known as the psychedelics. The psychedelics, they are those group of drugs which have the potential to change a person's sense of reality. Means that the person will not be living in the reality. So the psilocybin, the psychedelic drugs, they have the ability to change the potential of change of the person's sense of reality, leading them to see, hear, and feel things that are not happening in life basically. Okay, dears. So they changes the potential to the person's sense of reality, leading them to see what? To see, hear, and feel things that are not happening in life basically. While the mescaline, it is obtained from the cactus plant. There are different types of cactus plants, but the cactus plant from which the mescaline is extracted, that is basically the peyote. Peyote, it is a group of cactus plant from which the mescaline is obtained. Now, the next hallucinogenic drug, that is what? Dextromethorphan. The dextromethorphan, it is another hallucinogen, also used in cough syrups. It is a synthetic hallucinogen. It is not obtained from the plants, and it is synthesized in the laboratories. The chemical structure of dextromethorphan resembles morphine. Dextromethorphan produces the hallucination of being out of one's body. What is morphine, dear? We will discuss the morphine in the next topic, that is the narcotics, another group of the addictive drugs. It is also a chemical which is addictive drug. Dear, as I have told you that the dextromethorphan, it is used in the cough syrups. So keep that in mind, dear, that it is a drug which will only relieve the cough, the common cold, flu, etc. But it will not treat these medicines. They will only relieve the cough, common cold and flu, but will not treat these problems. Now let's start with the last group, that is the narcotics. Narcotics, they are basically the small family of drugs obtained from opium, the sap of poppy plant. You have studied about the poppy plant in your first lectures. The poppy plant, it is basically the main plant from which the main group of the painkillers is obtained, that is the opiates, which helps in treating the pain, and it causes what? The sleeping, or it causes relaxation to the person's body. As I have told you that narcotics are the small family of drugs which are obtained from the opium plant, the sap of the poppy plant. The narcotics, it helps to relieve pain. Basically, the narcotics, they are used to relieve pains, and these are the medicines which are used to relieve pain in diseases like the cancer and the arthritis, because they are a very, complicated kind of a drug, okay, which is a very high dosage kind of a painkiller for the patients like the cancer and the arthritis. So this narcotic,